this time. We'll take this slow. We've got miles behind us, but miles to go. So let's just break this down to the simplest truth. You and I as one will always be better than two.
Welcome, everybody, to Sweet Home Catoosa. My name is Richard Tharp. I'm your host, and today we're joined by Tina Pinkston, and she's with Lyft, and she's going to tell us all about Lyft. Because I've got to be honest, I was introduced to it through my wife, and it was just most of the time I was always one of those curious people driving through Ringgold and like, where are all these kids going? So yeah, it was pretty neat. So please tell us all about it and how it started, and let's just get into it, because I think there's a huge benefit to this.
It's been the most amazing thing I've ever been a part of. And I'm going on year 22 here in Catoosa County, and have been a part of beautiful things.
Yeah.
This thing it's had a life all of its own from the get-go. And so I love to tell the story.
Sure.
Because it is miraculous, really, in a whole lot of ways. Tina Pinkston, I'm the executive director. Honored to get to be in that role. It's scary to be in that role, but again, such an amazing adventure. Co-founder along with Chrissy Brown, and so she's also on staff with this thing that got birthed to really just out of some mothers' hearts. We came to the area to work at a local church, my husband and I, and fell in love with it right away. We used to come up this direction to go climbing outside Lafayette all the time, but all of a sudden it was like, wait, this is a beautiful spot. We had never looked at it. And to have big city amenities right around the corner or down the road a little bit, big city amenities, but to have such a beautiful little pocket of rolling hills and beautiful people and just small town. I know everybody. It's like the coolest thing to walk into the grocery store. My 6th and 9th grader, not so fond of me knowing everyone everywhere we go, but I've just longed for that my whole life. So we love it here. That 15 years in a local church, very mission focused local church, very involved with all the social services in the area, really put me, it turned out that was kind of like training for this role that I did not know was coming. Yeah. So, it was so just the origin story might be a good place to start. I was looking for something new in my life. I had this girlfriend who was also looking for something new, and we were thinking, I guess we could just go out into the world and get regular jobs. But we really felt like maybe there was something more. And some new calling that we might be. So we drank a lot of coffee. We hung out at Panera Bread, aka The Office, and we just dreamt about what might be needed in our area, how our unique skill sets might come together to create something new. And she's an artist. I just love art. So our first big idea was to start maybe an art center for the county, which is still a really good idea. Maybe someday we come back to that. Yeah. It was in the spring of 2018 when this was happening, and one of the school shooting in Florida had just occurred. And in conversations with other moms about how scary that is, and it's just regular towns like ours, and it just kind of was coming home that day for some reason. My friend Chrissy said, I wish there was a way. And she's just talking and just thinking from her heart to come alongside somebody like that way before this horrendous reality. And help them not get on that path. And maybe it's real. I mean, it's mental health maybe that's taken them toward that path, not just necessarily a bad situation or trauma or whatever, but all of that could have the potential to have some prevention in a way that maybe wouldn't lead to this. And she went, maybe it's not an art center. Maybe it's just a youth center that just does lots of art. And that was the day this idea got born. We reached out to people and friends and all these social work connections from my job before. And I said, hey, is this a good idea? And the thought was to narrow down to a gap in services. Middle and high schoolers don't have nearly the opportunity as 5th grade and under in our county. We do a really great job with that within the school system. Right. In those buildings through 5th grade. And then 6th through 12th, there's not a lot of after school opportunities. If you're not playing a sport or in band or there are a couple little things that are happening, which are beautiful and super important, but for a broader audience, there's just not a lot. And so as we looked into that and started dreaming about what that could be and how, if we could come alongside a kid in those, especially those really formative middle school years, and really plant some seeds and give some confidence that might help them get on that right path. Not necessarily even looking for at-risk students, but students who are maybe at risk of being at risk.
Yeah, and they didn't have a place, and all of a sudden this came up, and now they're saying, hey, I've got a place to go and try to be a part of something.
Absolutely. That sense of community, of feeling like I belong, is so critical. And today is hard. Our kids are growing up in we're pretty similar in age. Other younger folks even our kids are growing up in a completely unique time, and those connection points are much harder to make than they've ever been. Our phones make that difficult as much as they are to help us communicate. It isolates them so we just started dreaming up what this could be. We came up with the idea of LIFNT, Lift, what was going to be called, right away. 2 weeks into the idea being born, this acronym came up, and the thought, it partly came out of these middle-aged women who also wanted more in our lives. So the mission is to create opportunities for students to be, the L is loved as they are, inspired to be more, found in community, and trusted to make a difference. It sounds good. That made you smile. It's good.
That's right.
That's what we wanted for ourselves. And as we thought about the need there in our own children, and now when we started, of course, they were in elementary school, and now all our kids are in the same range that we're serving. And what a gift to be an opportunity for them to feel those things, and to see the concrete impact that happens from the kind of a soft skill spot, but it brings so much fruit in their lives long term. The L, loved as you are, it's to feel valued and worthy, regardless of what social media or your friends might say. That's a skill to cultivate in a life that will take somebody much farther than even math, right? Math is important. But if I can understand my value and be accepted and be able to just relax and say, like, I can just be me right now without masks and pretending, and people really go, yeah, we're cool. Like, yeah, I like you. That's
when we were kids, we go to school, of course, got on the bus and went to school, and we got back on the bus and went home. And then, I was lucky enough. We lived in a larger neighborhood where there was lots of kids. We'd go out and play, and we'd do things. But the way you offer now, kid comes to school, however they get there, parent bus. But after school, if they go to what? Is it Ringgold Middle, Ringgold High? Well,
we're open all of Catoosa County. Okay. But they do have to get to us.
Sure.
So for Ringgold Middle and High, our facility is walkable. So that makes it really easy to be there. But yeah, they don't necessarily end that school day. And then we've got amazing teachers. And some kids are really lucky enough to have some really solid friendships. But for a lot of them, they are just, they're on edge all day. It's a lot. It's a lot for them. So to get to leave that environment with all that they got in it, with between education and the encouragement they're getting from those folks at school, to come and just go, whew, and kind of de-stress and relax a little bit. It really gives them a chance to feel themselves, so loved as they are, and to help them understand that's how we should be. Okay. So at our space, it's a requirement that you treat others that way too. It's a no judgment spot, and you can actually make connections with people that are different than you. And that's a good thing. They kind of break out of their cliques a little bit in our space. And that's a skill set all by itself. The Inspired to Be More part is all about growth and learning new things. And so our primary format for doing that are after school workshops. And that happens really just right in the meat of our afternoon. So from 4 to 5, we kind of narrow down and do these workshops. They're different every day. Students get to choose what they want to do, which is important for them to have that choice. For some, that means that they literally, the 6th grade boy, all they want to do is play whatever sport I offer that day.
Sure.
So some of them literally will run from Ringgold Middle School all the way to our space to get one of those 20 spots on that outdoor rec program for the day. And that's okay. At the lowest level of engagement, they're still getting fresh air and exercise, and they're connecting with a trusted adult and positive peer relationships, and they're not getting in trouble somewhere. The trouble's not finding them. And they're not sitting alone by themselves, playing a video game, even on the light end of that. It's just good to be in community, right? So the workshops, we say it's how we reach the kids. So recreation being one of those, education, art, community, and health. So each of those workshops falls under one of those categories. from light fun stuff like sporty things. And even in that area, we do yoga and some different exercise things that can help them build maybe some skills toward more than just playing. All of the play is very important, to things like STEM and art and sign language and Spanish and how to change a tire. We really do a range of things so they can have a pretty well-rounded experience when they choose that workshop each day. So that's the I, inspired to be more. Maybe they pick up a life skill that really serves them long term, or maybe they just find a hobby, right, that they never knew existed before. We were the coroner, Jimmy Sperling. You should have Jimmy on. He'd be a great guest. Have you already had Jimmy on?
No, I haven't yet. No.
We were talking about suicide rates in our county, and how, again, these kind of services can come ahead and help support somebody before they get there. But in that conversation, I learned that Jimmy likes to do metal detecting. And I said, tell me more. And it turns out he really likes it. Like, he's got multiple machines and does this with other people. And so we had him come in and do a workshop on metal detecting. You just never know what a kid might grab a hold of.
Sure.
That really serves them their whole life, and it makes them more well-rounded. The more skills you can develop as an individual, the more confidence you have, and that builds resiliency long term. So some of the things we do are silly, but some of them really have the potential to save a life in a bigger way. Bring folks in that talk about drug abuse and talk about the sexual assault center. I know was here the other day, and they come in and do a thing about red flags in dating. And so we just try to plant some really serious things, and then in a format that is so fun that they want to keep coming back. So that's the Inspired to Be More. Founding community is about those relationships that happen along the way. That kids always talk about the friends that they have at Lyft. A lot of them are school friends, but the degree of time they get to spend together, the crazy activities they're doing together, all of that gives them a chance to build a depth to those relationships that a lot of times it's just not possible. They're not going home to the big neighborhood,
sure,
right, and playing until the lights turn off.
Because that's not available to a lot of kids nowadays.
It really isn't. And sometimes the parents just don't let it happen, which makes me sad a little bit. But so it becomes that spot where that depth can happen with peers. Our staff and our adult volunteers, they're amazing. Like, kids want to talk to them. They develop this trust with those adults that allows us to just be in the right place at the right time. So when there's trouble happening at home or at school, and they need to work through that or ask for help, which is what we always are encouraging them to do, then they have this ear that's open. Sure. Being mandated reporters with Department of Family and Children's Services, which anybody who works with students and children are a mandated reporter, but to be able to step into that gap, especially when there's those kind of level of things happening. And those are the times where we're just so glad we were there, and there's so many folks that are trying to help keep our kids safe in different ways. So to have that opportunity to have the depth to be able to get to those really hard things is super important. And it's also about our community. So every month we do a service project and have the kids either make something or go and do something that serves people outside of their box. I think these days our children are very much focused on their box.
That's right.
And so to help them see a bigger picture is really a neat thing. And so that's something that happens all the time. And we bring in lots of folks from the community to the center as well. So anytime there's somebody who has an expertise or a service they want to help the kids understand, or just a knowledge about a thing they need to know, we love bringing those folks in. The library is a great example. They have amazing programming that they do with teens already. They come and do that at our center as well, once or twice a month. And it gives them just another chance to take this thing they do well and offer it to more kids. Ties them back to the library. So maybe that kid then also wants to utilize those services later. So we love the community piece. And then the T of Trusted to Make a Difference is really leadership development. A lot of our kids, again, most of the time, it's not the ones who are captain of the football team. It's not the ones that already have things. They're a lot of times the kids who are not being chosen to be the leader. Not because they couldn't, because they just aren't fitting that box well enough. But it doesn't mean they're not able to be amazing leaders. If nothing else, they're going to lead their own life one day. So the more we can empower them to step into those roles and be confident that I can make healthy choices for myself, I can learn, I can take it in from my surroundings and turn it around and make it something that creates a space for myself. Those are amazing things. So we try to work that in all the time, from kids making announcements. Every day when we come in, we run through LIF&T because we get new kids every day. So they need to understand our culture and what our expectations are. And so students make those announcements and get to be a voice from our stage. And from something like that to being in an open mic night where all of a sudden they are doing their thing, which, for a lot of kids, that's not something they ever do, to being a part of our student leadership team and having a more active role. So that's the T of Lift. There's LIF&T.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
So where are you located? Let's talk about.
Absolutely. That has been such a perfect thing. So walkable from Ringgold Middle and High has been critical in our startup phase. In the beginning, we said, let's grow slow. Let's figure it out. Let's make sure we've got a solid program. It didn't matter. We grew fast anyway. But we knew we wanted to, in the beginning, not even to do a transportation thing. We wanted it to just be able to be small so that we could figure it out. And then our plan was year 2, we would offer transportation and try to bring more of the county to us. We were so full, so fast that actually didn't make any sense anymore. So we were on Highway 41. We share a driveway with a gingerbread house, which half of Catoosa grew up there on their grounds. And just right around the corner. And beautiful spot. You've seen that cool porch when you've driven by. That's us. We own the whole building, which has been amazing. We're able to buy that space and have some plans for expansion eventually in Ringgold as well. Once we get done with this coming Fort Oglethorpe thing. So, yeah.
So how many kids on an average day during the school year do you end up having?
That's a great question. And it depends on the day. So I mentioned we're a drop-in center, which means I know who's coming age-wise, but I don't know who's coming that day. They choose that. There's a slight difference between I have to go to Lyft today, or my mom's making me go to Lyft today, and I think I'm going to go to Lyft today. And so we wanted it to be a thing that kids felt like they could choose. And so far that's working out well. In that first year, we hoped we might have 250 kids in the course of a school year. We had 391 come through our doors year 1.
Wow.
Wow. And I think it speaks volumes to the fact that it's just really, it was a needed service. If we weren't amazing at our job, and we are, I think kids still would have shown up because they just need a spot, they need a place. So in the course of a school year, it's about 400 kids. They don't all come at the same time.
Right. Yeah. That
would not be okay. Although we did have a day this last school year where we had 90 kids at once, and that by fire code, I can have like 200, but that's too many. So, but that was an anomaly on a typical middle school day, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe on a big day. On high school days, it's in the 30s and 40s. On a Friday, it's a catch-all day, and we have middle and high schoolers. And so that day gets a little bit bigger just because of that combination. But Mondays and Wednesdays are high school. Tuesdays and Thursdays are middle school. And we did that on purpose. We're trying to, with the space that we have, again growing so quickly, trying to find as many kids, we want to serve as many kids as we can with as much depth as we can. And we landed in this sweet spot of Mondays and Wednesdays high school, Tuesdays and Thursdays are middle school, and then that Friday catch-all. So for a normal kid who wants to be there as much time as they can, 3 days a week is when they get to be there. And that's working out pretty well. They would love to be there more, but until we have more space, that's the spot we've found. So,
gotcha. So if I'm a parent, and I've got a kid, and I think, I think he or she would do great. I think that's something incredible. And they attend Ringgold Middle, or they're coming out of 5th into 6th grade. And I think this is an opportunity. So how does that parent make this happen?
Yeah.
And communicate it with the kid? And then, obviously you say they walk from the school. So they get picked up. Parents have to come pick them up.
Yeah.
And so these things happen. So talk about that, because I think that's, if I'm watching and I'm a parent, I'm like, hey, I've got a child that I think would benefit greatly from this. Or I've got a child that's approached me and said, hey, my friend goes there and I want to go there. And I'm thinking, well, what is this all about? So let's
Right.
talk about that too.
Yeah, the logistics. So it's free to come to our youth center. That was important to us from the get-go. And it's why I spend a lot of time giving people the opportunity to to be a part of making this all possible financially, but so they don't have to pay anything at all, but they do have to get enrolled. We have a pretty robust system that we do that through. It's online, so it's easy to access. And anybody who struggles with that can come in and we can walk them through it. They have to do that every year. So if I have a kid rising 6, so in the summer of their rising 6th grade year, they get to start being involved. They go online to our website, liftyouthcenter.org, and any enroll button, there's lots of enroll buttons,
Sure.
will take you to that process of getting enrolled. So that way we can make sure we take good care of a kid. We need to know safety stuff and any health things and who's allowed to pick them up. We treat our space much like the school system does in that regard. And they choose if they're going to be self-checkout. They might live in Bluffview and they just want to walk around the corner to go home. And that's what mom wants that kiddo to do. And that's totally fine. It might be a trickier situation and only so many adults in their lives are allowed to pick them up.
Sure.
And so they have to come in and show me an ID and make sure that they're on the list, that kind of level. So they choose all that from the enrollment standpoint and let us know just kind of about who they are in their life. One of the things that we found is kind of tricky is as we apply for grants and different funding opportunities, we have to know a lot about our families, which is good, because we want to just know and we want to be able to help people understand what they're supporting. 54% of our kiddos are on free and reduced lunch, which is a pretty good indicator of how important it is that it be free.
Sure.
We always ask that as a part of our surveys at the end of the year. And overall, kids, even that maybe don't really understand their parents' finances, are so quick to say, I'm so glad it's free because I would not get to be here if it wasn't. So no cost. They get enrolled and then they are able to come anytime as long as it's within the day. So they go to school that day and it's a Tuesday, so it's a middle school day. They leave the school building and we do have a couple of vans that we bring over. So if we had a kid who couldn't make that walk, we would definitely wouldn't want that to be a hindrance.
Sure.
So they can always get on the van. We haven't had that need very often. So typically first 10 kids who get to the van get to ride instead of having to walk, but they really don't even complain about the walk. I've actually been really pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
It's good. Even in the rain, they won't complain. Now they stink by the time they get to me and we got a center full of wet teenagers, but yeah, they really don't even mind that walks, but we do have those vans just in case. A lot of those 6th grade moms, for example, are a little nervous about their kiddo making this big transition to middle school, and then they're going to just walk through the community to get to us. But we have a staff member who does that walk as well, just to keep eyes on them, and just a reminder that they need to make good choices all the way to us once they get to the center. Whether it's that way or if it's that we've got tons of homeschool families that take advantage of our space, which is great. As long as they're a Catoosa County student, it doesn't matter to me
That's right.
where they go to school. Lots of online students too. That's become more and more of a thing, even post-COVID. So anyway, if they get dropped off, that's fine too. They get in and they have a name tag that has a barcode on it. And so they get scanned in and that's when they are officially in our care. The parents have an app on their phone that lets them know that Joe has arrived at Lyft. And so they know he's in my care at this point, which is really good. With the drop-in thing, I want them to get to choose, but I want their parent to know where they are.
Yeah, definitely. And I know my wife, but she'd be
yes,
like, okay,
right.
yeah,
so that
he made it.
That works out really well. When they leave, same thing happens at the end of the day. So if they're self-checkout, they scan out, the parent knows they're walking home. And the only trouble comes with all this system if Joe says, hey, my friend wants to come, and they have not communicated well, and all of a sudden Joe's friend is at Lyft and is not enrolled. And they've now not taken their bus home. This is all like a problem. So what we do, we have a system for that as well. We have a one-day guest pass as long as we can get a hold of that parent or guardian.
Sure.
So we have a quick form we'll do on the phone. Our front desk clerk is amazing. And she'll get that parent or guardian on the phone. We'll fill that out, make sure they understand that to return, you need to be enrolled. And so they normally get that figured out pretty quickly. Once they've come once, they typically want to come back.
That's right.
So that's an easy thing to get knocked out. And so that's kind of how that show up part happens. And the hours, so it goes from when school is over until 6 o'clock. That's kind of our window. And typically folks they get off work. And so kids start to dwindle away at 5-ish. So the meat of our program does happen in that 4 to 5 window, so that everybody typically can be a part of that. And then we still do fun stuff from 5 to 6, but not as critical as what was happening in that first hour.
Sure.
When they first get there, they just come come in and get to chill, and they get a snack. In a typical year, we serve like 29,000 snacks.
Wow.
Some of that's, partnership with Coca-Cola. My father-in-law is our snack king. He just turned 80 this year. He's in charge of our kitchen, and I haven't bought a snack yet. He's just taken this on as like a thing that he wants to do for kiddos. And so we've got this 80-year-old in the kitchen. We got 20-something-year-old staff folks. They come in and they love all of those folks equally, and get to jump up and give Theo a big hug. It's such a cool thing to see happen, but if he's not there, they're like, where is Theo? What's happening? But yeah, so they get a snack. They're on their phones. We've got a game area. They're playing a video game or pool or whatever, and just having a chance to kind of unwind a little bit. And then we walk through our reminders for the day. Hardest thing we do really at Lift Youth Center is for about 3 minutes, try to get 50 or 60 kids to all be quiet at the same time while we run through those reminders and what our behavior expectations are. Very serious about that piece too. We say Lift is for anybody. But it's not for everybody. So you got to be able to get along with how we do it here, that being respectful, not just to other students, but to our adults and this process, and pretty high level of those expectations, which we're really clear about. And that's part of the system, is it makes it easy because they're partnering with us and creating this environment that we have in the space. So if they make poor choices, they might get a warning. If they make a couple of poor choices, they're going to head home for the day. My teacher friends are very jealous of this send them home for the day thing. What I wouldn't give to just be able to say, nope, you two weren't, you're done, move on. So
those consequences are important
I think,
to youth, because they have to understand. Now that's the world they're going to be going into as an adult. There's consequences, and I think all too often maybe they're not getting that as much as they need, and they don't understand it. And you're right, in the school system, there's limitations.
Yeah.
So it's good you don't have those limitations, because those children need to understand there's consequences, and it helps the other children see they didn't necessarily get in trouble, but they see, hey, they take this serious, and they don't just say 2 strikes and you're out. They mean it. Yeah. And so I think that's a very valuable thing. I think that's a great teaching tool for all the children.
When it says to the one who maybe on the more vulnerable side, they're really protecting me. And they really care. This is not a place where bullying is going to happen, and they really mean it. So it says volumes to them, and even all the students, any from little to big, they are always searching for where the boundaries are. And even though they might say they don't want those boundaries, there is a degree to which, at that age especially, they need to know where the edges are. It makes them feel more comfortable and protected, even though they're pushing against not wanting that protection. They really do want to feel that. And so across the board, it never fails. We do that survey at the end of the semester, and we ask them about those things. And they'll write out pieces in those surveys and talk about if they really do care about me here. They really are keeping me safe. And one of my favorite sentences ever that was written was, this is like a second home to me. I even take off my hoodie here. And that's like teenager speak for I am so comfortable.
Sure.
And
it's almost like a cloak.
It is. It is. It's a metaphorical boundary that they create for themselves. And to be in a spot where they really can just breathe and feel accepted. It's a gift that it's really kind of rare. Some kids' families are that way. I'm so thankful for those families.
Sure.
But for a whole lot of them, what they are experiencing at home is not that. So to get to walk alongside them, especially when that's what normal is just a huge gift. And so yeah, for some kids, it's just fun, right? They've got a great home life. It was like on Tuesday or Thursday or whatever day. And some kids come once or twice a month. Some kids, again, every time they can come, they're there. But they have this fun thing they get to choose to do. For other students, it is where they get to breathe. And if we've walked alongside just awful situations, and there's so much anxiety and depression, just it's rampant with our kiddos, and suicidal thoughts are so much more common than you might want to believe. To be able to walk alongside some of those students, especially in these first 3 years, and help prevent what could have been a devastating. I mean, I'm just really glad. I'm really glad we get to be there.
And sometimes that's the big highlight of their day and their week.
Oh,
is to know, okay, I'm having a bad day today, and today's not the day I get to go be a part of that, but there's tomorrow. And so tomorrow I'll get to go, and, and so it's just something to look forward to. And a lot of children's lives, they don't have anything to look forward to. And that's where that darkness creeps in. So this is huge. This is important, and it's that beacon of light, I guess you could say, in the children's lives, right?
It is.
That they get to have that they otherwise wouldn't. And what a great opportunity, and free. I mean, nowadays that just doesn't get done enough, where people like yourself step up and fill a hole that's in the community. It really needs to be filled. And so, wow, that's amazing. It
is amazing. I'm so proud of how it has become. I get to be a part of a team that really isn't afraid to vision out what's possible, right? And as we hear from the students about a thing they need, we're like, all right, can we make that happen? Who can we partner with to make that happen? We are Lyft. We love collaborating. It's like our favorite thing to do is to not have to duplicate any services, but to find where the services are. Catoosa County has a wealth of amazing nonprofits and social services that are trying to get their help to families. But a lot of times families just really don't know about those things. So we, beyond being very active with our family collaborative, which is you know about the Family Collaborative? No, that'd be another good guest for you. I'll make you a connection. But it's a monthly gathering of all of the local service providers, the school system, the sheriff, the nonprofits that all serve families and children. They get together every month and make sure that they're learning together and being able to collaborate in potential projects together, just sharing each other's programs so that we can, again, not duplicate, but really expand the impact of each of us. We love that, but also we wanted to bring that to life in a really physical way. So when you walk into our space, the whole front lobby is covered with resources. We kind of break it into some categories, everything from brochures and flyers that you tear off to community events that are happening, just fun things, but also all of those resources, local colleges and universities, all those things are on the walls, so that really, even if they haven't paid attention to it, that they begin to have this sense of knowing, there's stuff there at Lyft. If there's something happening at home, or for my aunt or my whatever, my neighbor, let's go ask at Lyft if they know about something that could help. It becomes a little bit of a local hub for those resources. We even put them on our website because, again, they weren't digitally super available in one spot. Because I don't need to do a food pantry. We have wonderful things. And you had CIS on the other day.
Yes.
They do a fabulous job during the school day, especially, of all these amazing services and stuff. I don't have to do that because they do it really well. I just need to point to them.
That out real well.
Yeah, for sure.
In school. So you're right. You've just filled a void though that really wasn't there. How amazing is that?
Yeah, it's been awesome.
So you started when?
So that idea was born in 2018. It took us a couple of years to get it all figured out. We did a lot of community events and surveys and having meetings with different folks in the community, serving in different ways to make sure that we could create in a really healthy, long-term institutional kind of way. We want this to be a thing that lasts. And so it took a couple of years to build that foundation. In the middle of COVID, we managed to raise like $1.36 million. What? That's ridiculous.
I know, right?
And a lot of that comes from a family whose roots were here in Catoosa County, the Rollins family. The center in Ringgold is the Claudia Nance Rollins Youth Center. So as a primary funder and getting us off the ground, they were able to name our facility after a matriarch in their family, which I just love. So that all happened. We got the building remodeled in the middle of COVID, which was fine. We couldn't really start serving kids anyway. And so we launched in the fall of 21. So this fall, a couple of weeks, we'll have our fourth year serving students will begin.
Yeah, for somebody like myself, and there's probably a lot of folks now that'll click and make sense. It's like if I go through Ringgold about 2:30, 3 o'clock, somewhere in that time frame, it's like, where are all these kids headed?
Parade.
Yeah, it was like, and I'm like, where are these kids headed to? And then, and then I found out, and a lot of folks here are now about to find out what that's all about and what was going on. So it makes sense to them now. Like, yeah, I'm sure the kids do want to go over there. Mm-hmm. And that's amazing. So Now let's move forward.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's coming up, because there's something exciting, because there's a lot of folks in other parts of the county. So you're going next to?
Right. We're going to be in Fort Oglethorpe. We're headed that way. So in the big idea, to the beginning of the story, our mission is to create this after school opportunity for 6th through 12th grade Catoosa County students. We are primarily serving Ringgold Middle and Ringgold High, partly because of the nature of how close it is, but also it's just, that's where it is, right? And I think our county does that a lot. We kind of stay in our zones a little bit.
Sure.
So from that first year, we recognize this is bigger than, it's growing faster than we realized it might. And we tweaked as much as we could, again, as many kids with as much depth as we could. But last year we really got serious about looking at the future. And if we're going to meet our mission of serving the whole county, how do we do that? And so we did some more surveying. We started some more meetings. We really wanted to make sure this again would be something that the community felt it needed. And anybody familiar with Catoosa County would see that's a big obvious no-brainer.
Sure.
Right? So after doing that due diligence, we reached back out to that family that had been so pivotal in our getting started in Ringgold and said, we think we're ready to expand. We put together a 56-page proposal with all that data. And in the meantime, we had found this space. And so they came on board in January with a big gift that enabled us to go ahead and buy that building. Done, bought, and the funding to get the remodel going, and to put stuff in the building, to have some transportation be connected to that space. It is super walkable where we're going to be. It's just right next door to Pal's Car Wash. There's a church building there that has been used for a bunch of different things over the years, but it's about to have a whole new holy purpose as it turns into our next youth center. And so it's half a mile from LFO. So those kids certainly can just walk right down a sidewalk and join us. And if you've ever been on that part of the world after school, then you see that same crazy movement of children over to Sonic or whatever.
You do, across the street, or just walking down on that side, going down in toward Fort Oglethorpe.
Have a new spot for those students on those days that we serve high schoolers. And then for LMS, they're out in the middle of a community far. It's 2.2 miles to get to us from where that school is. And so transportation will be a system that we create. We're still getting all the feedback we can to make sure we create that system as perfectly so that it really is the most helpful. So that's all in progress over the next year. But yeah, we hope to at least double the impact that we have with that new space. Learned a lot of things in Ringgold about what we need in the space. It needs to be bigger. We learned that right away, that it wasn't. We needed more space. And so it's going to be a fabulous kickoff from the get-go. We'll have what we need. The sanctuary, former sanctuary, will now be an indoor gym. Again, new holy purposes happening here, but it's like 4 acres, that property. So we're going to get to do some fun outdoor rec space in the back. And maybe there's potential to do some nature, environmental ed stuff along the creek. I don't know. There's a lot of potential there, but it's what's really amazing to me about that spot is we're just nestled in the middle of that community, and a part of a landscape of amazing nonprofits that are also working, again, hand in hand. What's beautiful is to see that during the day, the school system, communities and schools, they're pouring into these kiddos, and then to be able to pick that up where they left off and keep that encouragement going is just that's a huge gift. And I think cumulatively the effect of that is going to be extraordinary. So you got CIS right at LFO that with their Success Center. That's one of the most parts of what they do. So that being just right up the hill. You've got DFACS right around the corner at City Hall area there. You've got Bridge Health doing amazing things. Link at the Y that functions out of the Y's facility there. They have an after-school program that works with some middle schoolers coming out of LMS. Much more depth to their program. We're kind of on the light end. They're on the deep end, and they do fabulous work with those students. So to be nestled in the midst of that is it's just exciting. That the collaborator in us is like, oh, I can't wait to see how all that gets to come together. Not just for the kids, but for their families. At 6:00 when we finish the after school window, it's kind of like we shift gears and become a little bit of a community center. So even in Ringgold now, we host different support groups and offer different things in the evening that are sometimes geared toward our students. So we have some family nights. We do some open mic things. We have every Tuesday, we offer a teen support group that we pay a licensed counselor to run, and kids can apply with that counselor to be a part of that teen support group. But anytime we can be the space where a community program can connect with the community, then we're just thrilled. I mean, absolutely believe it was a gift that we were given to be able to launch so well. Our story is not a normal nonprofit startup story. And so to be able to share that space is our absolute privilege. And so I think in Fort Oglethorpe, there's even more potential for that. As we see what the community needs and how we can, whether we offer those programs or whether we just host those programs to be able to give families more support. So.
Yeah. And one thing you said, and I've been sitting on it for a minute, is homeschool children. Yeah. There's a lot of families I find more and more that have taken that path for their children, which is great. But this allows that child, because a lot of folks say, well, they don't have the involvement maybe in the, as much student involvement because of that environment. And the parents are wanting that, and they know that's a need for their child as well. So that's fantastic that they can come and then they get to be a part of that community and that group, and they get that time, but the parent still gets what they're really wanting, which is that education at home, because they feel that's best path for their child. So I think that's phenomenal, because a lot of times that's what we talk about. Homeschool children maybe miss out on some opportunities, but they don't with this. And this is great. What a great add-on that's been.
Well, it's neat to see. I mean, every family's a little different too. Some of them are very diligent about those connection points. I think you've had Lionheart Fitness on as well, and they do a great job also of hosting those kids. And so they really can choose some things, but having more options is great, because whether between location or day of the week or whatever, one more spot for those kiddos to connect. And some of those student stories are my favorite. We had a student, and he actually just graduated this year. So much to his sadness, he is now graduated out of our program, but he came on our very first day, and Khan is his name. And Khan is a great example of a homeschool student. And when we met him, and has a lot of challenges in his life, but he was so shy and so withdrawn, but very bold in some ways. I don't know, he was a great, amazing kiddo, but he was able to blossom with us. And he proudly will proclaim that Lyft was a big part of him becoming the person he is. We've got a video on our website right now, and he's one of the kids who talks in that video. And it's really neat to hear him, after 3 years of engagement, look back at that time and give us and that experience credit for a lot of who he's become in his life. And as a homeschool student, we were the primary vehicle for that growth. And so, what an honor to get to be that for some kids. There's another kiddo who, when I first met him, literally could not make eye contact. He had long hair, but hanging in his face. And it turned out his dad had passed away a couple weeks earlier. I mean, there was a lot going on for that kiddo, in addition to being really shy and a homeschool student. To see that kid now, you literally would not recognize that child. He's got a whole lump of kids that are his buddies, and he's made a space there for his community. And if we weren't there, he wouldn't have had that. So
thank you. That's great. So talk about funding real quick, because that's what I love to do with nonprofits and things like that, because there's folks in the community really probably would like to participate or help, but they just didn't realize some of these opportunities existed. So talk about, I know you talked about the one family, but obviously that's a small part. So how do you make this go? Right.
So the startup phase, that's one thing. And that's been legitimately miraculous. I give all the credit to not myself, but a big God. But the ongoing operational costs of the facility and the staff, again, we've gone big. We're not. We wanted to make sure it was super professional, and that means a big staff. It means a lot of cost involved. And when you walk into our space, you don't go, oh, it's like old couches and beanbag chairs. It's really nice. So we want the kids to understand that they are worth that investment of a nice space that they want to take care of, because it is nice.
Sure.
And so, there's a lot of cost involved. Of course, we pinch every penny we can and have amazing donators that will do in-kind things or bring us their art supplies or whatever. And so we take advantage of all those things that we can, but there's a lot of just actual cost involved. So we do a lot of things. We apply for a lot of grants. We've been really well received in that community. We had a 3-year grant that went through the Georgia Department of Education, specific to out of school time funding, and we were one of 100 agencies chosen across the whole state to do that. So like in some big ways, we've been able to step into some pretty big opportunities funding wise, but there's still, there's grants, there's foundations. We have some amazing foundations in our area who want to support such things. There are people, and we do fundraisers. We have a big dinner in the spring. We have a golf tournament in the fall, which all that information's on our website, so go check that out. liftyouthcenter.org. And that's an easy way for businesses to jump in, especially with those as sponsors or whatnot, get some advertising, but also have a fun time golfing or having dinner or whatever. But regular folks who are able to make this a part of, like not just, we have a youth center over there, but we have a youth center over there that serves students. I'm a part of that. People can give automatically, just like they might tithe at church, and it goes straight from their bank account to us. And they could set up a $10 a month or whatever. They can give by check or credit card. They can do. We've got some folks who have already put us into their giving coming off of their investments. So they have to pull off a certain amount of money every year from their investment portfolio, and they've chosen us to be the spot where that goes every year. Folks can set up if they know long term, I want Lift to be a part of my forever impact, my legacy in the world. They can set up funding that way. We can have volunteers come in. That's another way people can give and serve.
You were talking about in our corner, Jimmy Sperling, and he came and gave of his time to do something. So there's opportunity as well. Absolutely.
The funding is a big part of it. It wouldn't be possible without that. And every year we have to raise it. That's there's big dollar amount that has to get raised every year. So, our website, just liftyouthcenter.org again, /donate would take you to all those options. We can tell folks all about how they can be a part of it. And we value every gift from that monthly person who's doing the $10 to somebody that we might get to name a room after in the new space. We'd love to be able to do that.
Sure.
And so all that info is on our site.
That's great. And it's important. And that's when I had the other nonprofits on here. I mean, that's what makes that engine work. I mean, we need you in our community, but the community involvement and the way people have stepped up to help is tremendous as well. And I think that speaks to why a lot of us love living in Catoosa County. Mm-hmm. It's a great place to live. We have a great community involvement, and we have a lot of great people like yourself that have just added to our community. And so thank you so much. And thanks for coming in today and talking to folks and letting them understand what is Lift.
Absolutely.
How it's so instrumental. We all look forward to, obviously, the Fort Oglethorpe addition to it and many more to come.
We'll see.
The county. No.
I don't know what's going to happen with that as we grow, but any community that doesn't have at least a Boys and Girls Club, that's kind of the comparison point maybe.
Sure.
They need a lift, so we'll just see how it keeps expanding over time. That groundbreaking for the new space is Wednesday the 24th, so just next week at 10 o'clock. And just to give that big picture of scope, it'll be the remodel of that space will start in September, and God willing, if all the pieces come together, then we will launch that facility in the fall of 2025. So starting that summer, we'll start enrolling students to be a part of that launch of that space. And whether you're a family that's excited about that, would love to talk to you, just even if it is a year away, because
come visit your space.
Yeah, we'd love for you to just be more familiar and understand what it is. And maybe there's some way for you to be involved even now that would just help make that segue. But also, especially the folks in the Fort O side of the world. My church experience was on the Ringgold side of the world. And so I'm desperate to meet the folks that I need to meet in Fort Oglethorpe, who will get excited about this new way of serving their community. And if I would love to hang out and tell the story and give a tour and find out ways to enable their generosity to connect with this way of honoring kiddos. So it's exciting. There's a neat year ahead. Yeah. I can't wait to see how it all comes together.
Look, you didn't know what was going to happen the first go around.
Sure not.
Yeah, sure. So I'm more than positive that, especially now because they have a footprint they can go look at.
Yeah.
Fort Oglethorpe will be a huge success too. Yeah, so thank you for coming on. Thank you for letting everybody know what Lift is. Please, go by, take a look. If you want to go online one more time.
Yeah, liftyouthcenter.org.
There we go. Take a look, and it's worth your time. If you have children in these areas, homeschool, anything like that, I really encourage you to take a look at this because it's a great opportunity for the children in our community today that really need this opportunity. So thank you so much for coming,
Absolutely.
Tina.
Thank you for having me and for having the show. It's so good. I love it.
That's it. That's great. So, hey, until next time, thank you so much. And we'll see you again next time.
You and I as one will always be better than